Well, good morning. Sorry I'm late to the live stream here. And sorry my absence for so long. We've been sick over here for like 3 weeks. I'm just now kind of getting my voice back, and so wanting to jump back in and try to bring a little bit of value to the ICT community if I can. So this morning, right off the bat, we had a big SMT between ES and NQ, the London, New York AM high discrepancy. It really drove price lower. My bias for the week is bullish. I want to see all-time highs this week at some point. If you go out to the daily here on NQ, you can kind of see all-time high sitting up there at the specifically 450 area, 22,450. And ES kind of in a similar situation. It has a few more highs to bust before it gets there, but its all-time high is sitting at 178.75, it looks like. So that is my goal for the week. Again, bullish bias. I would not be surprised to see ES come down and dip into this daily gap down here at 121, which is kind of what I'm hoping for on NQ as well, which would be the previous day low, which is kind of what I'm targeting. So we'll see if we get that. Really good drop first thing this morning with that SMT. Almost got a piece of it right. Let's see. Well, here, I'll mark it out on the 15. So it came up and tapped this 15-minute gap just a little bit ago. Right there. And so it did that right here at 10:15. I entertained the idea of a short on the inversion of this 1 minute candle. Actually, I looked at the retest of this SIBI is what I did, because the 1 minute inversion was just way too low. It kind of ran without me. So I did think about going short on the tap of this 1 minute SIBI right here. I ended up not taking it because my bias is long. And also because we had a Fed speaker coming up, and typically what happens with Fed speakers is you kind of get into a little bit of garbage time and just sort of chop around. And so because of those two things, I opted not to enter. But my kind of idea was something like this. No, I'm sorry, right here. And then targeting the recent low, and then whatever else, it gives you. That's only 1.1. So also I didn't love the RR on it. You probably could have tightened your stop a little to just over this inversion. I would have been fine. Give you a little bit better, get you a little closer to 1.5. But like I said, just didn't, not everything quite aligned for me to take it, but it would have been a completely valid play. 15-minute tap, 1 minute inversion. It does kind of fit with the intermediate bias of lower this morning. So it 100% would have been a fair play. Just chose not to take it. So now what we're looking for is macros for one. We want to try to execute inside of macros as usual. And then we're going to have to start seeing some some bearish PD arrays violated. The problem is that we have 3 15-minute SIBIs in a row. And this SIBI is just, the top of this SIBI is just sitting right below London and New York high. So that does complicate things on NQ somewhat. So, again, I'd like to see prior day low hit, I wouldn't say there's crazy conviction in it, but there's definitely, that would be an ideal scenario, especially for the rest of the week. Wednesday's my best day, so seeing a run into this this daily gap, and then hopefully a reversal out of it would be sort of, again, an ideal scenario to head on back up to all-time highs. So we may look again for another counter trend, something. I do have more conviction and a little bit more conviction in downside here, but it'll be interesting to see where this hourly finishes. If it finishes strong below these lows, certainly gives us some more indication that it's wanting further downside. Also, I would imagine ES hits its PDL first, so another scenario is maybe getting a good SMT off the bottom between ES and NQ. So that's something we'll be looking for. And then Trump, it looks like, is signing some executive orders at 3 o'clock this afternoon. We got another Fed speaker at, I'm sorry, that's 4 Eastern. Have another Fed speaker at 1 Eastern, as well as right now, Daly is speaking. So, macro coming up here in 3 minutes. Just kind of a, I don't even remember what you call it on the retail side, descending channel here. Just not a lot to work off of, especially on the 5 minute, which is kind of my preferred time frame, like go anywhere time frame. But that 15-minute gap tap this morning, or a little bit earlier, was really a pretty good opportunity. Although kind of looking at the 4 hour here, it does look like ES is quite a bit weaker on the 4 hour. What is this? Friday at 6. Yeah, we got a pretty good SMT between ES and NQ on the 4 hour, with ES kind of looking like it's holding up a little bit better. So we'll kind of watch that a little bit. I don't put a whole lot of weight on the higher time frame SMTs just because I don't swing trade, and so as a scalper, most of the SMTs I focus on are on the lower time frames. Yeah. We'll have an hourly close and a pretty good gap formation here in about 10 minutes. So we'll be kind of watching to see what that looks like, what that does. And then, unfortunately, what'll probably be the case is that 1 hour gap will be our condition for any more bullish price action, meaning we'll need a violation, an inversion of that 1 hour gap before we're seeking higher prices. That's not set in stone, but it does also pretty closely align with our 15-minute gaps. Actually, our 15-minute gaps are quite a bit higher. So that's just kind of that's a tough one. That's a tough one seeking any higher prices here. So we'll see, and it could wait till this afternoon to give it any sort of bullish indication. also. It could just be chop around the rest of the morning. So we'll just have to see what happens. So another, I should have called this out, but I'm kind of trying to get back to used to live streaming. Another play would have been potentially, and it has not worked yet and may not, but this 1 minute unicorn on this retrace down here. I looked at it. I'm still just not, I mean, we are in a macro, but I'm still with the 1 hour close. Well, actually, what I wasn't really thinking about was the 1 hour close. So we have this high up here that tapped the 15-minute gap at 207 or so. That is the 1 hour SIBI that just got created. So this could absolutely be a great play into that 1 hour SIBI or a potential run back down. So what I was looking at was something like this underneath the breaker of the unicorn and targeting this this high. That's a pretty good. That's 2-1. Not a lot of risk. Kind of wish I would have taken it now, but again, this may not work. It may completely fail and continue on its merry way back down to prior day low. But it definitely was a valid setup if you were paying attention. So the problem is it did take this relative high over at 1023 prior to running back into the unicorn. So that's a little bit tough, but probably just gives you a little less confidence in it. I think I'd probably be at break even at this point if I were in it, took the relative high, ran 20 points. I'd probably just run it to break even, especially given kind of the consolidation that we're in at the moment. I'll have to be watching this ES's hourly too. Oh, it may have already. Yeah, it did come up and tap that 1 hour, it looks like. What's the high? Or maybe 140.50. 140.50, so. Yeah. It has not eaten into it yet. It just matched the previous candle high, so. But it is, it looks like it's probably going to beat ES there, so you'd want to watch for an SMT off of that potentially. Well, I sure hope that ES runs up and grabs that hourly. That would make any downside more, give us a little more confidence. Kind of need ES to start eating into this 1 hour a little bit before a good displacement down. Probably not till the 1150 macro, but a nice slow grind up into this 1 hour before hitting some displacement. That'd be pretty nice. That'd be a pretty good setup. You kind of have to visualize these things, I feel like, to kind of help you talk through your narrative and what you want to see. And it also gives you like confirmations, like, okay, what do I want to see happen? And I'm not going to do anything until this happens. And it really helps, I think, your psychology of not only executing, but not executing as well. So I would definitely, I would be break even on this play here, especially because it's such a good entry. I mean, it was a bottom tick entry. So I'd definitely be break even and just kind of hoping, even if it's slow grinded up to the target, that'd be fine. But, so now what we're looking for, kind of taking a step back, we're looking for a dig into this hourly. A run up to retap this PDH, the prior day high, I think would be a great setup for potentially more downside. But as mentioned before, we're probably not bullish until the 1 hour is violated. So that's kind of where we're at right now. ES trying to pump into that 1 hour. Sibby. And Q having a hard time. Something I haven't really, at least that I can remember, talking about the last couple of weeks because I've been off, is really how tough of an environment it's been with Trump and press conferences and sort of the random news drops, especially regarding tariffs. It just moves the market on a dime. I've really only had one, I think, run in where I've been in a trade and that happened. I was break even and it wicked down to sort of stop me out based on some tariff news. I can't remember specifically. It's sort of all running together, but it can be tough. There's a lot of uncertainty, which I've definitely noticed a difference in my execution and my conviction in plays. It's like, well, I don't know if anything's about to come out or about to be said. Levitt could be holding a news conference randomly, and my idea could go to complete pot. So I've definitely noticed that's taken a toll on my execution for the last couple of weeks. I had my first losing week last week in 6 or 7 weeks. I think 7 weeks. So that was a little bit disappointing, and it really was. It was just a mistake on my part. I sized up, and while it was only like an 18-point loss or 17-point loss, it put me in the hole pretty good. And so I think I was net positive on points for the week, but because I sized up on that one trade, it really got me. So I either need to size up on all the trades or none of them and just just need to commit. I notice a drastic difference when I'm sized down in my psychology. So I'm still kind of working on that, hoping that I can continue to size up over time. But that's just something I've noticed the last couple weeks. NQ really trying to drive up there. ES starting to eat into that 1 hour. Sibby. Who wants to look at crude? Do a little analysis over here. See what it's getting into. Pretty good sell down in London. Kind of already taken both sides. Friday high. Asia, London. Dug into that gap. That, I don't know, what is that? A new week opening gap from a couple weeks ago. Yep. Here's that wedge that everybody and their dog was looking at a few months ago. And it didn't. I don't understand trend lines. Like, I guess you got a little bit of a pop down, but it's just it violated up here, pop down. So yeah, they're probably just like anything, an art that I don't understand. Oh, did we get it on NQ? I wasn't even paying attention, guys. Yeah, we did. Okay, so that would have been a good winner on NQ off the 1 minute unicorn play. So we do have a dig into the 1 hour now. ES coming up. We really want to see NQ come and hit prior day high to bounce off. I want a slow drive up and then a slam down out of this 1 minute or this 1 hour. Because it is a 1 hour, generally I need a 5 minute confirmation. Out of it, a 1 minute won't do. That's a tentative kind of subject to change, subjective thing, but as a general rule, that is a good rule of thumb. So yeah, that would have been a good play. What I say, about 2 to 1. The only gap is on down here. Sorry, I was on my other chart. There's a gap down here on the 1050 candle. So far that's only one, so it kind of sucks. It'd be really nice to, and that's a doji candle. It'd be pretty nice to get a run to that prior day high and put in a gap that we can potentially use for more downside. Okay. Well, there's a pretty good 15-minute gap. What's the bottom? 171. Yeah, that actually might work. I have a hard time executing on the 15 just because it's just so long. It's so long to me to wait, and candles can be so big that, you know, this is only a 9-point gap on the 15. And on 15-minute candle, it could take that low in one candle and inverse the gap and take the low, and then you're just like up a creek. Nice, pretty unmitigated gap. Actually, it's the Oh, that's the gap before open. Same there. Is that right? Guess so. Boy, that was a big rundown pre-open. Huh. That's crazy. Here I am arguing on Twitter instead of paying attention to the market, but this is a pretty good drop. Oh, that's a good candle right there. Yeah. Yeah, it's looking more eager at this point for that PDL. We are technically in a minor macro at 1120. Big candle. Let's see if it gets bought up. But punching through that 5-minute gap on ES pretty convincingly at this point. I think I'm going to switch over to ES for any shorts, given this current price action. I'll try to do some quick analysis on ES for anybody interested. So this is the gap that we're interested in right here. Pretty convincing inversion. My concern will be if NQ holds up and does not inverse the gap. It kind of becomes which one's leading at that point. In which case you kind of have to defer to your overall bias, and the intermediate bias I think is definitely lower. And PDL, it's a very juicy target down there underneath us. So I think I will probably try if we can get a retest maybe. Try to figure out 40, that's 6 points. Be about 3.5 points if we get the retest. On ES, yeah, this is a tough one. Because NQ held up a lot better than ES did. I'm gonna go short. I'm gonna go short one ES here.
Order filled.
With a stop up at 40.25. I'm only short one micro because I don't have a lot of conviction in it, unfortunately. So I got $25 of risk at the moment, and I may go short another contract on the gap retest. I think I will. It wasn't quite the dig into the 1 hour I was looking for either. So yes, NQ's buying up quite a bit here. I'm not interested in adding one actually. Yeah, that was a sell down to go back up, it looks like.
Order filled.
Take that off a little early. That was obviously a sell down, so switching back to M&Q for bullish price action. I'm glad we went light on that. Did we get an inversion? We did. It's a pretty nice inversion. Shoot. Are we back on M&Q? We are. I'm gonna look for a long on E and Q.
Order filled.
Actually, I'm gonna go long there, and then I've got another one just below it. So that would be 2 contracts long if it retaps the 1 minute gap, which it may not. I like this for a run back to 225. Although, this may be a full pull attempt. I don't know. This is definitely looking bullish on the 1. We've broken structure and got a CISD on the 5. Not a great one.
Order filled.
Okay, I'm in that 2 now. Definitely want to see this keep running higher. Average is 198, stop at 179. Not looking great at the moment. Yeah, dang it.
Order filled.
Boy, that was a quick one. Jeez. Okay, well, not great conditions at the moment. Need to wait for some more clarity. I felt pretty good about that last trade, so that means that I just had the bias wrong or something. Let's see. Did that ever actually? Where was I on the ES? I don't think. Oh crap! I don't think that ever. It didn't. That never stopped me out on ES if I wouldn't have killed it for lower. No. So, good indication is how that it's just not great conditions is on ES on the 5 minute. If you look at that inversion we originally looked at, so it inversed the 5 minute gap, and it comes back up to close above that inversion, and it's running back down. And we are inside this new week opening gap, so generally there's some tomfoolery that goes on in here. And so this pretty much, I mean, you can look at this and see, okay, these aren't great conditions necessarily. So that's my fault. Should have waited for the macro at 11:50 Eastern. This was probably not a high probability take right there. But that's why it's important, keep sizing small if you're not terribly convicted in it.
superior. And not acknowledging that, because by not acknowledging it or denying it, you...
Why'd you write this? Were you mad at the educational system? Did you think that they were teaching the wrong thing? What sparked it?
Look,
Why'd you write this? Were you mad at the educational system? Did you think that they were teaching the wrong things? What sparked it?
Look, I think the West, as a notion and as a principle upon which it is executed again, is obviously superior. And not acknowledging that, because by not acknowledging it or denying it, you could pretend you were smarter or better than you were, has led to enormous problems in our society. And also, for the sake of humanity, we have been blessed with a resource called talent management and software production that no other country has. So what does that mean for us? What does it mean for the world? How do you manage that ethically? How do you, and how do you prevent what we had essentially? We had a pagan religion that has infiltrated our universities, and that pagan religion basically says everything that's good about America, everything that actually works, is ipso facto bad. I view myself as outside it, but I don't like watching the Democrats just commit suicide. What I don't like about what's going on is I just view this as, well, let's watch the Democratic Party commit suicide. And like, I've been a Democrat most of my life. I kind of view myself as outside it, but I don't like watching the Democrats just commit suicide. And what I see is most of the country doesn't really, at this point, given the fraud, waste, and abuse we know is there, 90% of the country is like, get rid of that fraud, waste, and abuse. And I just view this as yet another example of the progressive left boxing themselves into a suicide dance. Now, what the progressive left should be doing is saying, okay, Elon, you're clearly the most qualified person in the world to do something like this. We want to dialogue with you about how you're doing and what are you doing. I don't believe that's actually what happened. And again, I like Elon. I know, I think he's obviously the most important builder in the world. And I just think, if you want to say my former side, I don't believe that they're actually engaging. I think it's like another dance where I'm supposed to say, of course, like whatever. It's like there's this one issue where I might, and then you get boxed into you cannot solve the problem. And then I would say, what is the biggest problem in this society? Biggest problem in this society from my perspective is legitimacy of our institutions. Why aren't they legitimate? They're not legitimate because, okay, do any of you really believe that 99% of your taxpayer dollars are being spent? But and not least, and probably arguably most importantly, there's two revolutions happening. One is transparency and one is AI. Okay, so why is it that we do not know where every penny of our money goes? Like, how do you explain that to people? And by the way, slightly more technically, what large language models do is they mean you can go into the contracts and see exactly what happened. So in the past, we couldn't do this. Now we can. The right response is, we want this to happen. We want
Okay, I think the conclusion so I would have gotten stopped out on that that first ES trade now. And I think the conclusion I'm just kind of coming to is I have no idea where this wants to go. And you know, if I look on the higher time frame, obviously we are bullish. I want all-time highs. But 4 hour looks bullish to me. Nice reaction on ES off that 4 hour gap. ES we did have a CISD lower on the 4 hour. I probably don't put as much weight in that. I did dip into that discount gap down there. But if I look at the 1 hour, to me this looks like it's setting up for a rundown, especially that SMT off the top. Big sell off here. I just would, based on just on the 1 hour, I would expect a dig into this 1 hour, this gap, and then a slam back down. That's just from all of my years of screen time. This is what it looks like to me. But the problem again is that it's not aligning necessarily with the higher time frame. So that's kind of when you can get yourself in trouble a little bit. We do have a Fed speaker here in about an hour. So And it's the first real trading day of the week. So definitely don't want to put ourselves in too big of a hole to start the week that we're trying to dig out of. Want to remain disciplined and shoot our shot when it presents.
Order filled. Order filled.
Nothing is going to change unless
Open low, high close for this next 4-hour candle and get a manipulation below previous 4-hour low. Could be something. Your 5-minute change in the state. Trade's over. We'll go outside. I think this is the low. I think this is this. Good luck. So, I don't know. Not really much else to say about that. The MNQ chart here, but on NQ mini, we did poke above this high. But I'm of the opinion that we go lower. Seeing price deliver back into entry. I think we go lower. I think we see lower, a new low of day personally. Like I don't.
Well, friends, I think I'm going to call it here. Price action's kind of just deteriorated, so and I've kind of lost the narrative in terms of what I think is going to happen, and so I think it's probably just best to cut it off here. Down small red on the day. No big deal. This afternoon might offer some more opportunity, maybe a little more clarity. But again, first real trading day of the week, and so can't expect much. Still would like to see ideally PDL get taken out either this afternoon or overnight for a continued and sustained run up back to all-time highs on both indices. So that's kind of what we'll be looking at over the next day or two. And I should be back first thing in the morning with y'all then. So if anybody by some miracle saw this stream today, thank you. Good luck, and we'll see you tomorrow.